Sometimes we get triggered in situations, and I know myself, I have had plenty of these moments where I have given the most uncalled for reaction in a situation because I was going according to how I was feeling in the moment and not really going back and stepping back to evaluate whether my response that I want to give in a situation is actually appropriate for the situation. And along the way, I've discovered and practiced having self-awareness as a way of managing triggers and managing situations that I'm having really strong emotions about. And that's what the power of self-awareness does. It helps you in the moment step back from the automatic responses that you might have to a situation and really see, is this reaction called for? What is an alternative that I can actually give as a response rather than me reacting to a situation? One of my biggest triggers that I've had in the past and still do have, but I now have a conscious awareness of it, is people not answering my calls and texts. Oh, grates me. Goes back to previous relationships where I have just been like ignored for weeks, for weekends. People disappear, and it left a sour taste in my mouth and in my memory, so much so that whenever even like the slightest sort of action of somebody not responding, especially in a relationship, in a love relationship sort of context, and in friendships, by the way, if somebody doesn't respond to my call or doesn't respond to my text, it actually hits a space in me where I'm feeling like hot soul. And I think most of us have this also, but for me, I had to really work on this and shine the light firstly as to what is it, why do I feel triggered. And I discovered it was past relationships. There's always been like a disconnect and a sort of unhappy feeling that rises up in me when somebody doesn't answer phone calls. You would call 13 times, 14 times, somebody doesn't answer, and they answer on Friday and they answer you on Monday saying, oh, sorry, my phone got forgotten in someone's car. And that leaves a bitter taste in your mind, and it in your subconscious mind holds that memory so strongly within you because of how strong you feel, and you sort of build up protection and self-protection mechanisms around reacting to such situations where I would just blurt out angry sort of slurs, or just shut down completely, or just shout and just reprimand the person like they were a child. And now in my current relationship, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with that quite strongly because I wanted a different relationship and a different way of handling things than I used to have in the past. So it came up in one of the instances early on in the relationship, and guy was not answering his phone. I called and he would just not answer, and he would eventually answer like yonks years later. And I had to communicate it. I had to communicate it in the most gentlest way I can, and not go into the automatic responses of just, this is what you did, 1, 2, 3, and use a different approach to what I normally do. And why is that? Because I wanted a different result from what I normally get. And you have to always process within yourself when a trigger happens, because a trigger is something that you know exactly exists within you that turns on a certain emotion in you when the situation happens. So when you find yourself in that sort of situation, how do you deal with that in the moment? What I use is like a 4-step system of, okay, here's the feeling that I'm feeling about a certain situation that has happened. This person hasn't picked up the phone. How am I feeling about that within myself? I feel irritated. My heart feels like it is incomplete. I feel like there's something that is parking and pending, and now I'm stalling my life just to get to the other side of this person and see if they're okay. And I'm busy imagining sort of scenarios of what could be happening with them. Okay, that's making me feel like that. Why do you feel like that? What is the story behind what I am feeling that is making me feel whatever I'm feeling? Well, in the past, my relationships partners have always just downright disappeared on me and come back a couple of days later, and it's always caused complications, and I've always had to just reprimand people and discipline people because of their own doing. So I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, that's the second part of it. You're acknowledging the story behind it and knowing that exactly what the story is not because of the situation happening right now. The situation right now is actually a trigger from an old sort of pattern that has been happening in your life that you now want to rewrite. Third part of it is figuring out, here is the impulse of me getting angry, me wanting things my way, me getting irritated about the situation. How can I respond to it better rather than reacting to this feeling that I'm feeling? What can I do in this current moment that is going to shift the way that I'm feeling or help me address the situation better? And a better sort of response comes up of, perhaps I should just park it a bit. He probably is busy. The story I'm telling myself might not be what is going on. He's probably busy. He's going to get back to me as soon as possible. Okay, how do you address this? Fourth part, how do you address this sort of thing with him? Okay, perhaps I need to gently talk to him and remind him or tell him that this is a trigger for me, and why it's been a trigger for me, and what has led to it now being a trigger for me, and how I would appreciate him going forward in the relationship if we would immediately get back to me with regards to calling me when he's seen my missed call, or just give me some sort of communication to say that he's fine and will get back to me as soon as possible. Can you see those 4 steps, how they now move away from reacting in an automatic way of behaving that you've done in the past, and you are now looking at the situation more rationally and building up a response that is more rational and more sensible and more addressing the situation than just attacking the person and making them wrong or right. So you are finding out what's going on within yourself. You are finding out how what you're telling yourself is affecting you in the current moment. You are building up a response for whatever the situation is presenting without reacting to the situation in an unrealistic and irrational manner. This builds your relationships, this builds your relationship with yourself as well, because you know why you do what you do, and you're better able to observe yourself and better explain what you're feeling in the moment, so that you don't pin your emotions onto someone else and make other people the causes of what you're feeling, but you reclaim your power, you reclaim your own capability to address the situation the best way you can, without handing over power to somebody else and saying, you are the reason why I feel like this and you are the cause of this, but you're addressing it within yourself. So I hope that is something that is useful for you, and you'll try it within your day, within your life as well, to first step back from situations that you feel bring a strong sort of reactionary stance within you. Step back from those and give yourself space to see the reaction and see the most rational and most thoughtful way to respond to the situation, rather than react to the situation in a blown up way that is uncalled for and really not going to foster a good relationship between the person that you are having the situation with, or a good memory of the situation. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.